Good evening. My name is Yvonne Lobby, and I'm with the Poughkeepsie Public Library District, and I am your host this evening with Laurie Adams, our featured artist at Boardman Road Branch Library. Laurie, her background is in photography, art, and a bit of science and math. Schooling includes Bard College, Dutchess Community College, and Rochester Institute of Technology. She's a full-time photographer and taught photography at a college level at art organizations, libraries, and privately. Her interests are varied. She likes to understand how things work and how they connect with people. And her education in photography and art started with her parents, especially her father, who taught her how to use a camera and process film when she was a teenager. So with that, I would like to introduce you to Laurie Adams. Take it away.
Thank you, Yvonne. I'm glad to be here tonight. And I wanted to just say what here is. Here is at one end of my studio, which is a building near my house, which is really a special place to me because I can come out here and it's my creative space. As a commercial photographer, sometimes I will work commercially out of here, but it's really a delight to come out here and create. The images at the library are botanical portraits, both on white and colors, and also a couple, at least what I'm considering Netherlandish inspired still lives, or still lifes, to say it properly. And that's why I called this exhibit Making Arrangements, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not just reacting to a single thing, a single flower and making a portrait. I'm taking multiple things and it's like, oh my gosh, now I have to make more decisions. What am I going to put next to each other, etc. So what I started moving away from photographing in nature, and this is a library story. I credit a library for really moving me into the portrait direction. I was at the Millbrook Library and I was browsing about, and this was in the large book section. So it was out, and it's called Hortus Eistentensis, The Bishop's Garden. And it's a book that was put out in the 1600s. It's big. The joke at the time was that you needed a wheelbarrow to take it around because this is a smaller facsimile of it. But it was made the owner of the garden was wealthy man and had plants, he thought, from all over the world. And he wanted to create an index of the plants. So he hired a chemist to arrange to have engravings made. And I saw this and I said, I want to do this. It is, I don't draw, I don't paint, I don't do watercolor. My tool is a camera. And I thought, okay, how can I make this work for me? And at the time I was starting to really enjoy gardening and reading gardening catalogs like they were going out of style. And gardening catalogs don't really have, I think, terrific photographs. They're documents of the plants, but they're not a portrait of the plant. So at this point, because I am not as good at sharing my screen while talking, I am going to share my screen and show you a little bit more reference. And this is from online. And I just have to get this together. Karl Blosfeldt. He is a man, also a scientist, and he was studying patterns in nature. So he started doing these portraits of plants in order to instruct his students about the anatomy of the plants. I mean, since then, he's got like a cult following because they're just so, I think, evocative and sensual, and they're really about the form of plants. So he is, someone I look up to lots that way. Okay, so These are the studies on white. And I want to find the first one that I did. This is the first one that I did. And to me, when I got this picture, I was experimenting. And because I shoot with a studio, or these were shot with studio flash, which is a lot of light and in different arrangements, I did not realize what I got until after I looked at the picture. And I love the word gobsmacked. I was like, I did this, I did this. The item, the specimen is only about this big. My light was about this big on it. So, and it was a soft box, meaning it's a big flash, big, very powerful. Like if you look straight at it where it would go off, your eyes would hurt and you wouldn't be able to see for a few hours. I mean, it's just that strong. So it was a big, strong, diffused light on something very small. And then I was able to photograph it different times by varying the amount of light on a white background to change the background from white to off-white to black. So this was an epiphany moment, really. And now I'm going to get back to the grid. So I worked with white first, and I find white very challenging because you need a light on the subject, and then further back you need something white, and then you need two lights on that, where you're basically overexposing the background to make it disappear. And so the challenge is positioning. I'm working with the macro lens, medium format camera, and plants don't do what you want them to do necessarily. So it's if I wait too long, they're gonna die, or if I pick them early, they're gonna bloom. I need to hit it just right. And I found out with the camera, the digital, I use a medium format camera with a digital back, and the back at the time was made by Kodak. And I found that it could record greens in the most incredible way. So I started really looking at greens with an appreciation. So the camera sees differently than our eyes. And especially with the bright light going off, we cannot see what the camera sees until after we look at the picture. These are teeny, teeny, tiny, and it's what comes from hens and chicks. And you just have to take the picture and enlarge it to see it. So part of me taking these pictures is because I want to study the plants and have a record of them. And here is the same columbine on white. So I did these on white for a very long time. And then I started saying, what's gonna happen if I do things on a color? You know, you get tired of things. You wanna change things up. Again, here's the green that just blew me away. These things were flopping around. So I also can't have a fan on in the studio or the heater because it could blow air and the plants could move. This is a detail of this. And you can see how the background is not white, and that's because I varied the amount of light on the background. I don't worry about the specimens being perfect, and I will take off leaves. You know, I'm not doing this for a botanic encyclopedia where I need to have an accurate, 100% accurate representation. I mean, this wouldn't make it that way because the depth of field is very shallow and it doesn't really show the whole plant. This is a cyclamen, which I consider my winter companions because they bloom in the winter. And and this one is, It's called Pussy Toes. Teeny, teeny little thing found in my backyard. And so I have a lens that really stretches out as a macro, which means you can see things that are very small and record them as their actual size on the film in film days or the image sensor in digital days. And here it's the front and the back because I was just intrigued. I think it's wonderful sometimes to see a 360 of a plant. So this is my study of how does your perception change when you introduce color. I collect things that I like or that intrigue me. This was a wallpaper sample book that had an interesting texture on it, and I took many different pictures, just substituting the background to see how your perception would change. When the background is darker, your eye goes more to the inside of the image. When the background is lighter, I think your eye goes to the outline. So right away as an artist, I can direct your attention. Here, I think where the color is similar, there's this contrast, this really tension between the two. Okay, and now when I put these together, it was like, to me, a puzzle, and I ended up doing tan, 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 blue, blue, green, blue. And here I've got another kind of triangle of an orange, an orange, an orange, and here a darker blue, a darker blue, a darker blue. So even coming up with this arrangement, you know, it was a thought process and how do I make patterns work for me. Before I started photographing flowers, I did a lot of what I triptychs, landscapes in 3 parts that kind of work together. So I've always been interested in, you know, multiple images. Working in the studio gives me the freedom to create and I don't have to go anywhere. So what else do we, what's this one? That's what I want. So here again is color background. Here is a color background. And these to me just seemed like little faces. Oh, I didn't mean to make that go as a movie. This is my Dr. Seuss image. It's just perfect is not always what I want. Here, the tulip didn't grow straight, which is just fine. And we looked at that one. And this one, I just see this as goofy. It's a pussy willow that's going to seed. And here I think the choice of background, it harmonized with the wood stem, but the yellow bits at the end just pop. I wrote a poem about this, and if I had it handy, it riffs off Peter Piper picked a peck of pussy willows, a peck of pussy willows Peter Piper picked. And then I don't remember the end of it right offhand, but I really like to have fun with things, or I really want what engages me to come across in the picture. And I photograph here to make myself happy. So if the pictures end up making other people happy, you know, that's a huge plus. This one is behind me here. It's just, it looks like a dancer on this one. And again, it was my winter flower from the A&P. I get the flowers sometimes from my garden, from wholesalers. Some people bring me flowers to say, oh, can you do something nice with that? So here I experimented with, you know, a transitional background. Robert Mapplethorpe was a photographer who worked in the 80s. He was known for his homoerotic images, and one of his exhibits, I think, was why, I forget which senator at the time wanted to defund the National Endowment of the Arts. Well, he did incredible flower pictures, you know, and the lighting was exquisite, just like on his other photographs. So here again, it's a tension between the plant and the background, and you can see the little bit here. I don't know the name of the part, but I was really working with the color combinations, and I find this a little bit jarring. It's a little bit, well, I think it's full of energy. Okay. So, and I mean, this was actually not done in the studio. This was natural light outdoors. So I like to revisit these, and I think about, okay, so this is a little bit of an arrangement here. And I think it's pleasing, but it's just one thing. So let me go to what I call dead things, which are things, that have died. And it's another area of study, and I don't think there are any dead things on display at the Boardman Library. I got the wrong one. But to me, this is very much painterly, and there's just gorgeous lines. And what I've done with so many of these specimens is I'm going to bring something over to show. Is when I've exhibited these, I have had the actual specimen on display so people can see what the original was and what I was able to do with it.
Laurie, you said you're using it sounds like a hybrid camera.
Yes.
Are you developing film? Are you using predominantly digital or both?
I'm only using digital now. I haven't shot film since at least 2003. When I went digital, it was with a very expensive camera. I mean, it cost over $13,000, $14,000, but I'm still using the same front. I've replaced the digital part of it. But I bought it for the lenses and the sensor. I knew that I needed something that was going to deliver the kind of quality that I was used to in film.
Sure.
And I stopped shooting black and white when I went digital because I don't like how I can produce digital black and whites. I think the darkroom black and whites just are magical. And color became easier in digital. When it was in film, it wasn't archival. The processing was a pain in the butt. You needed 100-degree water. It was hard to adjust your images. The chemicals you had to deal with the chemicals and the like. So when digital came around, I felt this freedom to really experiment. And I had spent all this money on a camera, and then you have a computer. I thought, okay, I'm going to put my eggs into this basket. So I'm going to show you one more little one here. This is an oak apple wasp gall, and this is the little thing here. So I just want to aim it so you can kind of see it. I go on walks and I collect things. And when I photograph things, it's my way of getting to know it better and understanding it. And it's just, I'm curious. I want to know what things are going to look like. So after I'd been shooting these for a while and working with color, a fellow I met at a gallery where I was showing these botanicals said, would I study Netherlandish painting, Dutch paintings of the 16 and 1700s, and here's a book, and then if I bring you some things, would you do a photo for me in this style? No rush. So from like October, November of 2019 to April or so of 2020, the pandemic came around in March to 2020. I had been studying this book, and all the work for me just fell like dominoes because there were no events, no weddings, no corporate things, etc. I started putting in a garden, and I thought, okay, now's the time to, work in the studio. And I also developed a new style of lighting, which was side lighting. And let's go to this one. This is the picture that kind of started it all. My friend wanted these irises. He wanted his vases. And other than that, you know, I was kind of, it was up to me. So I started putting in natural objects. And again, this is so strange to me, arranging things. I mean, I had to make decisions. So to me, this one, I have a little bit too much what I call dead space. The negative space isn't as strong. This one came out of one of the earlier sessions. And I love peonies, and I'd gone shopping for a vase. I mean, when you're doing arrangements, then you have a good reason to go out and shop for vases. So I was having fun. Here's another solitary one with the same vessel. And here, this is a very old piece of wood that had been growing mold and really quite filthy, but I realized it was the textured surface that I needed. And this background is a large piece of dark green velvet. So this is the one that came out of this that was just the shocker, kind of like the little columbine that I started off with. Peonies are absolutely my favorite flower. This is a clematis seed head, and these are columbines that were growing. They're kind of like a weed, but here these are in my yard, so I could walk around and say, this looks nice, let's see what will happen. What you don't see in this picture is the incredible mess that I create when I'm shooting this, because I will have 10 times as many things or more that I could include. So a lot of the times it's more about subtracting things, or I tend to put too much in, and then I say, oh, is it really important? What story do I want to tell? So that part becomes a question I ask myself. Here is the oak galls again, and these are some little roses. It's hard to get the scale for this one. This little vase came from a woman who brings me flowers and says, I think you could do something nice with this. And, you know, then the pressure is on, I have to photograph it before it dies. Or sometimes you let things die and then you photograph them again. So I have a collection of things. And so many of these things are on display or now, or will be on display this weekend and next weekend in my open studio. So here, these are pretty much everything I had grown. And this was something that was brought to me as a thank you. And I wanted to create a picture that harmonized. And so I found, again, cut this from outside and intertwined it. These are garlic scapes, thistle, globe thistle. These might be cosmos, might be. And this is Monarda. Again, the same wood fabric. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I call this over the top. And this is slate that I have to lug in and set up. Same slate again, gladiolas, more gladiolas, all from my garden. So I had the time and I had the product, if you want to put it that way. And I generally eat everything except the flowers. So these are variations. These were all done in the same session. This one, I consider this my, who did the Last Supper picture? Da Vinci, not Da Vinci? Was it? Well,
I think it was Da Vinci.
Okay, I consider this my masterpiece, one of them, because, you know, and it's called Melancholy. So, and I have a play on words because, you know, melancholy is always kind of sad, but it's also got a melon in it. So it works from left to right, you know, this angle here, it ends with these nasturtiums. And then this was the pain in the butt to really get the separation between things, because flowers flop, you know, you have to make them stand up. So I have pretty much one large continuous light that's on, and down here to get this to glow from behind, I have like a light wand that lights from underneath. So a picture like this could take many, many hours to take. It's just, it's very precise placement of things. And this is a vase that I painted because I didn't want glass. Here I wanted to space things apart. There's another painter I admire a lot named Morandi, and he just, a lot of what he did was vessels, and it was abstract and how they were placed together. So this doesn't look similar to what he does, but I was thinking about him while I was creating this. And here's the fabric that I got at a remnant sale, and these are embroidered wasps or bees. It's just the silk thread and the silk that it's on just stuns me in its beauty. Velvet. This one, I call it Daisy Daisy, thinking of the poem Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer true. I'm so crazy just for the love of you. Well, I like to have playfulness in these pictures. And this was a tile background that I made. I've had this piece of marble for ages. I love the texture, the surface. And I found a white pumpkin, and I've got these vessels. This is the same. I call it the Casavina vase because I got it at Casafina, and I think I got them here too. So I'm really interested in the stems and the leaves, how they play together. This was done on a tripod, and the exposure was 8 seconds. Things weren't working for me. I didn't like what I was getting, but I knew I had to shoot it because the tile is the background for a wood stove hearth, and the wood stove is going in, so I had to shoot it before the wood stove went in. So I just thought, why not? Let's experiment. I don't know how it'll look, but it did not look like this to your eye. The 8 seconds of light that came into the sensor through the lens built up on the sensor. So the photo ended up being brighter than it actually was in real life. So this is a good point to show and switch to, I've got Lightroom open, and I'm wondering, are you able to see my Lightroom now? Or I think I need to stop my share and start it again. Okay, right. So I'm gonna do that. And now I'm gonna do screen share and pick my Lightroom. Okay, and share this. So Lightroom is a software program made by Adobe, and they make Photoshop. And these days you can't buy Photoshop unless maybe you buy Elements, which is the amateur program. You subscribe or you rent it, and with it comes Lightroom. Lightroom is both a database program and something that can process images, and you can print from it. You can do other things too, but that's kind of what I use it mainly for. So I'm gonna walk you through the 40 pictures taken to get this one. And I'm gonna, did my screen just go dark except for the picture for you?
It is now a white square where the picture would be.
Okay, then we're not gonna do that. Can you see the picture now?
No,
Can
it's
you
still
see
white. I see your Lightroom, but the picture is still white, which is weird.
Okay, then that didn't work. I'm gonna stop my share and start it again.
Your Lightroom setup is very intriguing too. I'm familiar with Lightroom, and mine does not look like your setup, the way it's organized.
Well, when you're starting off with Lightroom, organization is incredibly important because it's not the most intuitive, I think, programmed to learn.
Mhm.
But that said, it's where pretty much everything goes. I live out of Lightroom. Things only go to Photoshop when Lightroom can't handle it.
Right.
So this is the final picture. And now
it's still a white square, which is so bizarre.
You know what? I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to share another screen.
Okay. Trick it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go back to Firefox and share that.
Okay.
And I'm going to go to the inspiration for this. Again, the same fellow that started me off in Netherlandish, he said, can you do a picture in the spirit of Clara Peters?
Wow.
And she was a painter in the 1700s. And he said, I will get the props. I would really like to, if I can, work with you on this. I'm like saying, yeah, this sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. So I shop secondhand a lot because that's where you can get a bin of silver, like in my daffodil pictures, with many, many coffee pots of silver for $20. You know, you're not spending necessarily an arm and a leg. So I'm now gonna stop my share and I'm gonna go back to see if I can do the Lightroom again. So we have an image. Okay, so I'm going to just switch off. And any images yet? Oh, I can't hear you, Yvonne.
I see the thumbnails along the bottom, but I don't see the image in the center. It's still white.
Okay.
Very, very bizarre.
I'm going to shut down Lightroom and then start it again.
Okay.
Okay.
And I see we got another person who joined us.
Okay.
Welcome, Shanna.
Okay. And okay, hopefully this will work. How about this? Do we have images in the center?
I think you're going to need to share your screen again.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, how about that? Do we have images in the center?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. I'm not going to try that other technique. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through every single picture that was taken to get the final. So this first one is kind of just a baseline lighting picture and putting objects in to see sort of what they look like photographed. So there's like a maroon-ish background, and this is on an older table. It's got a, you know, an older finish. It's a little beat up that I've had for ages. And these are some of the ingredients that went in. So it's just to start to see how things look photographs. And my friend wanted to peel the lemon perfectly. We've got cherries, we've got salt. And these three things are reproduction glass that he had gotten. There's a dragonfly, which you can't quite see, a dead one, bread, and some cheese. And putting it together, it not looking good yet, but, and then, you know, the decision was, we need another fabric. And it was too flat here. So that's why the things went in the middle, to elevate the middle, added a fabric. And then this was something I stumbled across while shopping for vegetables. And I thought, okay, it kind of fits this. So it became the centerpiece in the back, but it seemed too predominant, so switch them out. So then it went lower, then the cheese moved in. It's starting to look like a composition. So now there's a knife in there. Things get moved a little bit. You know, moved a little bit more, a little closer. There's a little wine in the glass. Now the lighting's being worked on more. There's more light coming in. Less light, less light. And the lighting on the left changed. I think I this was done during the day. So I think that I unblocked the light coming through the windows, got darker, moved around. See, it was crooked. I had to straighten it out. And here, there's a highlight over here. Do you see my cursor when I move this here? Excellent. So I am interested and wanted the dragonfly to show up. Here it is on top of this very, very stinky cheese. And now it's here, and now you can see that this is starting to show up. So this is where and here there's a reflection on the knife that changes. Trying to get that dragonfly to show up more. So now you see the fabric was added to the right. Smoothed out. Is it better with wrinkles or no wrinkles? The cheese moved. Highlight.
When you make these changes, are you viewing each image after you take it on a larger monitor, or?
That's an excellent question, Yvonne. Yes, I am doing what is called shooting tethered. So I have this camera hooked up to my computer. I use a different software program than this, but basically I'm seeing the pictures this size and I'm reviewing them this way. I think it would be extremely hard to do this looking through the camera. And what many studio photographers did before digital, they would shoot large format or medium format. And before they exposed the film, they would shoot Polaroids, which was an instant picture. So nowadays, Polaroids aren't really around, but you had a separate back for the camera. You'd put in Polaroid film, you'd expose that film, whip it out. It would process in like 60 seconds and you'd study the Polaroid to say what's good, what's not good, what should we change. So I'm using shooting tethered the way people would have shot with Polaroid, and it makes a huge, huge difference. Thank you so much. And now this got added, this glass laying down over here. It's nice to have something coming into the picture that complements the knife. And you see how the light changed. Okay, so we thought there wasn't enough light on the right. And so my friend is holding up a very powerful flashlight and aiming it at the cheese. And so I backed up a little bit and then decided it needed to be cropped for one view. And then this is the final. So I'm not positive how many hours this took, but this was a lot of planning and my friend did a lot of the prop shopping, but it really came about from studying the painter's work, Clara Peters. So that's about making arrangements. And so now if there are questions, I'm happy to answer or try. I ate the cherries, they were great. This picture is called Homage with Fromage. And the cheese went to somebody else. I can't do gluten, so the bread went. That sea salt, I think I'm still putting it on popcorn. So it's just been a delight to do these pictures.
So have these photography pieces been framed and hung by your friend or given away? They're beautiful.
Well, he's definitely ordered some prints, and I don't know if you can see this one back here is on display in my studio now. I found a vintage frame, and my studio will be open this weekend and the following weekend from 11 to 5 as part of the Art East Open Studio Tour. So I will have unframed prints and some framed things on display and greeting cards also.
It's wonderful. I love your botanicals. They are outstanding. Each one you showed, I went ooh and on. I can't believe this is true art, Laurie. It is magnificent. Have you ever, maybe you have considered putting a book together of your botanicals that you showed tonight?
Yeah. I have a little book called, let's see if I can do this, Little Flowers with Big Attitude. And I matched it with some verse that I've written and
Oh,
information about the nomenclature, both
mhm.
the common name and the Latin name. And in the back, I have information on the plant parts, because I think the science is as fascinating as the art. And actually, the plants, they're not designed to be beautiful things. They're designed to propagate. And so every part of them is geared toward healthy living and then reproduction. So the beauty and the colors in the plants are made to attract pollinators. And they have features that are necessary for survival of each species. So the science is what makes the art.
It's marvelous. Have you made books, or is it just one for yourself?
Oh no, these are mass
Published?
Yeah, this one was self-published. I did quite a few science books for kids for Northern Duchess BOCES, and then I did this one and one other one on tryouts, which is a creature from the time of the dinosaurs that's still alive now. So I'll also have those at my studio, and they can be purchased through my website. They're not on Amazon right now.
You see, if we didn't have the pandemic, then we could have done a complete workshop the way you've done tonight at the library, which is something that I'm looking forward to trying once we get through this pandemic with other artists and do more work to show the efforts, the emotions, and the beauty of all of the work that goes into the art. Because this is eye-opening for those of us who are not artists, but simply stand and appreciate what we're looking at. But to go through what you've gone through with this piece, and I'm going along with you thinking, oh, would I have done that? Would I have moved this? Just for my own taste, but fascinating, just fascinating. Love it.
Thank you.
And we have to play this. And yes, it's just, your presentation was fabulous. I can't think of any word that describes, but also the learning process, the teaching of how you've gone about doing this. This would be fabulous for photography or photography meeting. I'm sure you've done that, have you? With many photographers, because photographers, as any artist, are always interested in changing their work, elaborating more, learning how to use new equipment. This is the next thing we have to do once the library opens up totally.
Mhm.
Well,
I'm
there's
thrilled.
a pretty active camera club in the area.
Uh-huh.
They meet in LaGrange generally at, I think it's a town hall there. So you might want to reach out to them. There's some talented individuals there.
If you would send me the name of the president, I would like that very much.
I will do that.
When you have a chance, yeah.
Okay.
Great, Laurie. It's a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
What would you say is the bulk of your income? What's generating the most income for you?
Oh, it's going to be a mix. I mean, I do private lessons, and I consult with other photographers. I shoot with a photographer who's got a medical center and a college of medicine in the Bronx.
Cool.
I've been doing, I do weddings and bar mitzvahs when they come up. I don't advertise myself as doing that, but I've done, I don't know how many, and they're fun if I don't do too many.
Right.
And I'm doing more and more photography of artwork, which is one of the hardest kind of photography that there is, because you really have to be true to your subject. So your lighting has to be perfect.
Or like you were photographing paintings that would go into museums, that sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah. I worked with a lady today who's got things that are going to be at the Albany airport. And
cool.
She's going to, a place is paying to make some reproductions of her paintings to hang them at their location. So in order, that's the harder kind to do photos for, you know, reproductions. A lot of people need it for their portfolio or for the web. So,
Here's Ruth.
okay.
Let's see if she's gonna unmute herself. Do you have to use the little color bar, you know, like the cyan, magenta, black, gray, white strip next to the paintings and stuff?
Yeah, I have a chart that I will photograph.
Okay.
And then I run it through a software program, and it creates what's called a profile for, you know, that lighting and camera situation. For a while, I was working with a ceramics collector and, you know, arranging, photographing his collection. And that was fabulous because, and he micromanaged, you know, we just need a teeny bit more between these pots, a teeny bit less between these pots. I photographed silver, you know, so
Wow.
that was the trickiest because silver just shows everything behind you, including and in front of it. So I wouldn't say there's really one thing, which is, I think, why I've stayed in business, because I don't specialize.
Right.
Yeah.
And it keeps, like you said, you don't get sick of it. You know, if you're doing a variety of things, you're never, you know, you're going to burn out on one subject or one task. So
It's been good to do this, and I look forward to, you know, feedback from the exhibit. If anyone wants to contact me, then my email is there, and I will be sending out my newsletter to the people that have left their email at the library or wish to send it to me through my website.
That is a wonderful vehicle. I enjoy looking forward to that all the time. Thank you, Laurie, so much.
You're welcome.
People are enjoying it every time they come into the library, and I know that there have been notes left for you. So it'll be exciting.
Okay.
Good. And just again, talk about the open studio, the dates and time that it runs.
The open studio is this Saturday and Sunday, and it goes from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the following Saturday and Sunday. And I'm one of 26 or 27 artists that's opening up their studios to the public. Some, like me, have a standalone space. Others work out of a room in their house, or, you know, everybody has their own way to carve out space to follow their passion. There's one fellow that repurposes old tools, and I just see an incredible sense of humor in how he has utilized wrenches. There's another fellow who carves marble, and a woman who does fiber art, many painters, watercolorists, photographers, so, and jewelry makers. And it doesn't cost anything. And if you go to the website, arteastduchess.com, there's a map there and links to the different artists. So you get to plan out your visit. Oh, I want to visit so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And there are yellow signs. And so it's kind of like follow the other signs, but it's good if you have GPS or a good map with you too.
Good.
I did put the links in the chat, but I will also send out a follow-up email with that information as well.
Thank you.
And Laurie's address would be important.
Yes.
Laurie's email, her website is in there as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm in East Fishkill near Route 52 and the Taconic. And my studio is in the building at the end of the driveway that looks like a garage, but it's actually kind of a stretched out building. And it gives me nice space.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful studio. I remember coming to you, what, about 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I ended up with that beautiful print of the peonies, by the way. Do you remember that?
I do. You have the Casafina vase.
Yes, love it. Love it.
So thank you very much, Laurie. This was incredible. What a really, it was, like Ruth said, an eye-opening presentation with regards to your process, which is really great. And it's inspiring, I think. So again, I appreciate your time in putting this together, and your show is beautiful, and it's available to visit and see in person until November 2nd at the Boardman Road Branch Library.